Vancouver is the third largest city in Canada, situated in the westernmost province of British Columbia. Downtown Vancouver is surrounded by water and can only be reached via bridges or boat. Vancouver is one of the most densely populated cities in North America, yet it is a very green city with over 200 parks. In 1971, the environmental organization Greenpeace was founded here. Vancouver is said to be the most environmentally friendly city in North America. 2.5 million people live in the metropolitan area. 1 of 3 have Chinese ancestors. One of Vancouver's most popular restaurants is the Bao Bay. Tanis Ling calls her restaurant a Chinese brasserie. The food she serves has Chinese roots with elements of French cuisine. Tanis loves restaurants and bars. Her Chinese parents found this hard to accept.
I never wanted to go to school. I never had dreams to do anything very professional. My mom's a dentist, my dad's an architect. I think as a child you're just like, no, I don't want to do what my parents do. I'm gonna be a bartender. So that's what I did.
After 10 years as a barkeeper, Tanis Ling opened her own restaurant.
Yeah, I took the risk. I mean, in my mind, it wasn't a risk. I mean, in everybody else's mind, my parents, my friends, the community, it was a big risk to open up a restaurant, especially in this neighborhood, which was struggling and, on the outer edges, and nobody was hanging out in Chinatown at that time.
During the gold rush at the end of the 19th century, there was a huge immigration wave from China. The Chinese were experienced gold miners. And when the Canadian Pacific Railway was built, 15,000 Chinese worked as cheap laborers under very bad conditions. At the end of the 20th century, great numbers of Chinese came to Canada from Hong Kong. Nowadays, new immigrants tend to settle in the less crowded suburbs rather than in Chinatown.
I mean, Chinatown has always been a favorite place of mine because I used to come here quite a lot as a child. That's when Chinatown was still thriving. Really loud, lots of smells.
In Vancouver, there are almost as many people with Asian roots as there are with European ancestors.
Vancouver's multicultural. I think it makes it unique that it has such a high density of Asian cultures. You see a lot of mixed couples here, a lot of mixed children. So I think it's interesting because in the future, in maybe 100 years, everybody will kind of look the same because we've all blended together into, a chocolate vanilla milkshake. I think that's cool because it's kind of the seamless blending of cultures.
Together with her head cook, Tanis has created a dish which combines elements of Asian and European cuisine.
We both thought it would be interesting to have beef tartare, but instead of pickles, it would be pickled mustard greens, and instead of salt, it would be soy sauce. So there's a lot of the sweet, salty, savory elements of Chinese food in a traditional French dish.
Tanis's creations are successful. On some evenings, there's a long waiting line. Vancouver City was established in 1886. But Indigenous peoples, the so-called First Nations, have lived here for thousands of years. Sean Hunt belongs to the Heiltsuk Nation. He is a sculptor and painter. He is known for his clear lines and flowing forms which constantly seem to shift. Sean was born in Vancouver and comes from a family of artists.
My father taught me how to carve and how to design from a very young age. Growing up with him and learning about our culture through the art, really, I have come to take the same forms and the same iconography, but really try to make it my own, really try to modernize it.
For many years, Sean had his workshop in the city, but then he returned to the land of his ancestors, the Sunshine Coast. It starts about 20 miles north of Vancouver and can only be reached by boat.
Many people come here to live or to vacation or because they want to enjoy the beauty of the place. But we're actually from here. This is where my people have lived for 10,000 plus years. So we really feel like we're not trying to dominate nature. We want to live within nature and live in harmony with nature.
Away from the bustle of the big city, Sean has found a quiet place for himself and his wife Kate. Here, he can concentrate on the essential things in his life. The way the Indigenous people were treated by European immigrants is one of the darkest chapters in Canadian history. For a long time, they were expected to give up their language and culture and to adopt the Euro-Canadian culture.
So I'm Celtic First Nation, and then from my mother's side, I'm Canadian of Scottish descent. And so I sort of have these two cultures coming together in me.
For one of his projects, Sean carves totem poles, cuts them up, and then reassembles the parts. These new sculptures represent what has happened to the Indigenous people.
Europeans coming over, colonizing the native people here, and sort of feeling at the time that it was better if they were more European. I felt like by cutting up these totem poles, I was then sort of mirroring what our people have gone through and how our stories and our culture and our history has been cut up in so many different ways. And so I'm taking traditional artworks and reconfiguring them in the way a European would want to see them. I started to realize that it was a great advantage, and not only could I create works that were interesting, but they could also speak to both sides. And instead of this barrier between the two cultures, I could act as a bridge between the two cultures.
In Vancouver's multicultural society, Sikhs from Punjab play an important role. About 100,000 members of this religious community live in the metropolitan area. This is the largest settlement of Sikhs outside of India. Charnjit Dada is one of them. He transports goods through all of West Canada.
Vancouver drivers are pretty good drivers, you know. Vancouver drivers are probably one of the best drivers in the world you'll find. They're not laid back, they're not aggressive, they're not dangerous, they're assertive. So they're very professional.
After work, Charnjit hits the road again. He was 15 when he came to Vancouver from Punjab with his parents. In India, he was used to seeing many people on motorbikes.
And when we moved here, I saw a few friends riding their bikes with turbans on, and only then I decided to get my license, and we started riding, and I've been with the club for 10 years now.
Twice a week, the members of the Sikh Motorcycle Club meet for drives around Vancouver. The turban is a symbol of their religion. The club has obtained the right to ride motorbikes without a helmet for Sikhs in British Columbia. The club has 120 members. They advocate safe motorcycling. Their leather gear stands for good behavior. Hooliganism is not tolerated.
We're not just some tough guys that just do motorcycle rides. We just want to show the world that we're good people. Your next door neighbor. It's where Canada has given us so much, facilities, and they have embraced us. So we just want to get back to communities too.
The bikers take their responsibilities as Canadian citizens seriously. They've collected $100,000 for children with cancer during a charity ride across Canada.
Thank you very much on that.
Loud music from the speakers is part of the pleasure of motorcycling. Bhangra, music from Punjab.
My buddy's like, you have the voice to do it. Why don't you just sing one song, you know, professionally, just record one track. So sure enough, we did, and everybody liked it. From then on, we just do one track a year.
Charanjit has become quite well known with his songs and music videos. If he wanted to go professional, he would have to go on tour in India. But then he would have no more time for his family and for riding his bike. Vancouver is one of the centers of the North American film industry. Around 50 films are constantly in production. Series like Supergirl, or movie productions like X-Men. Thousands of highly specialized jobs have been created over the past years.
Ready? And 3, 2, 1, go.
Maya and Jeff Arrow are stuntmen. They work out their moves for the scenes they will have to act.
I've done a few where I'm playing like a fairy or something, you know, you're sort of flying around, Peter Pan, like all those sorts of ones where you're sort of, you know, flying around. It's all wires.
The stunt scenes have to be practiced to perfection before filming.
Our living room is our training space, and we actually styled this living room after Lara Croft's living room and the Matrix dojo. So if you look, all the windows and stuff kind of style like the Matrix, and then the way all the rigging is in the ceiling, it's kind of like what Lara Croft has, where she can, you know, she does her bungee ballet. So we kind of have all that stuff in here. It's just like a mashup of those movies that we love. That one's called a face-off. Because I fall forward and then I spin at the last minute. So in this instance, this is probably where someone has maybe kicked me in the stomach, and I'm just gonna go flying into that wall over there.
Go. Set.
Set.
Ready? And 3, 2, 1, go.
As a stunt performer, scrapes, cuts, bruises, those are pretty common. Like something like this, if I was doing that on set, I'd probably have to do it. Depending on the camera takes and camera angles, I'd have to do it a bunch of times in a day to a hard wall. So I'd have to prepare myself to, you know, not get hurt. So I have to do it over and over again.
Maya and Jeff also use the roof of their house for their training work. It was built to be walked on and has several levels.
In the back over where I park my car, we actually have that 14-foot gap. And we actually made that where we could jump off of that.
Maya did ski racing when she was younger. Today, she uses her mountain bike to keep in shape.
I love Vancouver specifically because there's so many things outside to do. You can ride on every one of the coastal mountains around Vancouver. So you can start at the top where you've got great views of the coast, great views, and then you're, you know, ripping down really, really cool trails and you end up right in the city. And I think that's a bit unique.